Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for this Friday, July 8th. Looking at our impacts map, our most significant impacts will be gusty winds, low humidity today and Saturday across the western portion of the Great Basin, spreading eastwards as we go through the weekend. We will be seeing those winds further up north as well. However, that will be coming with much higher humidity and also a pretty good likelihood of wetting rains. Precipitation and lightning, the past 24 hours, none across the region. And looking a bit further down towards observed precipitation, the past 7 days and the past 14 days, you can see quite dry, especially across our northern and western areas. Did have some moisture across areas further to the south, but a lot of that has been drying out rapidly in this current weather pattern. Fire activity across the region, initial starts in the last 24 hours in the red circles, is existing fires in the yellow. Our larger incidents are circled here in some of these open circles. Looking at our ERCs and trends, you can see that some of our dry fuels on the ERC side, well up into the 70th plus percentile, up into parts of Idaho and into Utah as well. Somewhat higher ERCs across Nevada, but still there what's not being reflected are the cured grasses, a grass crop which is quite a bit bigger and thicker than in previous years. And if we look at the live fuel moistures, they tell a story as well. A sagebrush across parts of southern Idaho and Nevada, either at the normally dry levels for this time of year or near record levels in some areas. And also looking at some of the oak down in southern Utah in the higher elevations, also drier than normal and approaching record levels. Looking at our satellite imagery with upper level maps, you can see that we're under a broad area of high pressure, but mostly southwesterly flow, which is going to be intensified with this unusually deep low pressure system dropping into the Pacific Northwest, bringing moisture to the Pacific Northwest and eventually across the northern portions of the Great Basin up into the mountains of southern and central Idaho. South of there it stays dry, but the way this high is set up, it's not producing a south to north flow of monsoonal moisture, so we should stay quite dry in our southern areas. Looking at our significant fire potential for today, this afternoon, we're expecting a combination of significant wind gusts over 30 miles per hour with low humidity across a vast portion of the Great Basin, especially across western and central Nevada and pushing on into parts of western Utah. This is outside of our area, pushing out into Wyoming and Colorado. Looking at the weather factors influencing these conditions, on the left-hand side you see humidity level still quite dry across our southern areas, down in the low teens, coming up quite a bit across central and northern Utah where you see the green. On the right-hand side you can see the winds. The orange to purple shades are wind gusts anywhere from 30 to as high as 40 miles per hour, and some of these purplish shades 40 to 45 miles per hour. So you can see where the strongest winds are, and also a bit of a gappage in the wind across northeastern Nevada, where it'll be gusty but not quite as strong as areas further to the west and to the east. So we go down the road Saturday. See that low pressure system dropping on down to the Pacific Northwest. That's tightening this pressure gradient, these yellow lines, and tightening the upper level wind field. So that'll continue producing winds. We have high risk for a good portion of our southern areas. We will have winds up here, but notice that we start seeing a drop off into the green across our northern areas up in Idaho. That is due to the proximity of this low and its moisture, which will produce some wetting rains in our northern areas. We take a look at the weather factors on that day. You can see the humidity coming up across Idaho, minimum humidity above 30%, even close to 40 or 50% up north, but you can still see single-digit humidity to low teens just south of the Idaho border. That's our concern. On the right-hand side, you can see the orange and purple shades of our highest wind gusts, using the key on the right, gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour being fairly widespread. Sunday, that low settles right in across central Idaho under that dark green, and under that low, probably a fairly long duration wetting rain. You can see our dryness levels dropping off, but there's a sharp gradient between the moist air and the dry air, and in that dry air mass where fuels have been drying for quite some time, we continue with high risk for wind and low humidity. We look at the combination of that wind and low humidity, and you can see the low humidity here just south of the border, and the strongest winds pushing through Nevada, but especially here in eastern Utah. Some of these purplish shades are gusts between 45 and 50 miles an hour. Looking at precipitation for this whole 3-day period as we go from Friday morning through Monday morning, the heaviest up in Idaho, the blue shade's a ½ inch to locally an inch. This secondary green shade is about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch, so a good wetting rain along and just south of the Idaho border. Looking further down the road on Monday, we see one low exiting to our northeast, another low dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska into the Pacific Northwest, continuing the fairly strong westerly wind pattern. You can see how some of our areas have moistened up a bit from the higher humidity, and especially the rains up in Idaho. As we go into Tuesday, we see some drier air starting to punch in, still that westerly flow developing, starting to dry out quite a bit in some of our southern areas. That drying will be slower in areas further to the north. On Wednesday, and as we go into Thursday, we'll start drying out, and you'll see parts of southwest Idaho starting to dry out, and by that period, all areas except far northern areas of the Great Basin should be primed for any new fire starts if there are new ignitions. Precipitation through the whole 7-day period, again, significant up in the mountains of central northern Idaho. So in our northern periphery, we could see a ½ inch to an inch of rain up towards the McCall area, maybe a 1/10 to 1/4 inch from Boise down to the Nevada-Utah border, and then very little, if any, south of there. We look at our 8 to 14-day outlook, and we see that we continue with below normal temperatures through here, which means there's low pressure, which means there's a good westerly flow, and that means not much monsoonal moisture. So we stay unusually dry through the Four Corners in our southern areas for the period from July 15th to the 21st. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.